An arms race is when two or more countries compete for increased military and weapons and try to gain political priority over the other. The Industrial Revolution led to much greater weapons and ships, which led to such events. There have been arms races before the Cold War, but the Cold War happens to be the most relevant. The first of many arms race was the Anglo-German arms race. This was the arms race between Britain and Germany on who has/had the more superior battleships and navy. Creating new battleships created new battleships who eventually created the standard for the navy. British eventually won because Germany could not keep up with the British advancement. The Cold War arms race first started in 1945, shortly after Nazi Germany surrendered, or you could say even started during the war with the creation of atomic bombs by America that was dropped on Japan. They both didn't like that each country was trying to spread their influence, and with that, more bombs were created. The Soviet Union wasn't having that and decided to create their own atomic bombs, starting the arms race.
1949, Germany was split up into two sections between the US and the Soviet Union. They were very different from each other because the Soviet Union was a communist party and the US was a capitalist economy. They also divided Berlin as the capital of Germany, and they wanted people to have both sides have a political side. The people could leave East Germany and go to the West Germany, and the Soviet Union did not like this happening, so they built the Berlin Wall so that their people could not leave. Throughout the 1950s, the U.S. was convinced that the Soviet Union was brought better missiles capacity, and if the Soviet Union were to launch an attack on the U.S., they would not be able to protect themselves against each other. So later on, the CIA proved that it was not true. It was that the U.S. had a bigger military and missile capacity. Arms race came to a tipping point when the U.S. administration attempted to overthrow the Cuba's primaries but failed. When the U.S. showed that the Soviet Union was helping build a missile base in Cuba, the U.S. enforced a naval blockade, which meant war. The U.S. demanded that the Soviet Union would remove their nuclear weapons and destroy the base. The crisis was avoided due to them realizing that talking over and they would stop the blockade, and the U.S. would also remove its missiles from Italy and Rome.
Ultimately, the arms race during the Cold War emerged to be one of the most expensive arms races in history. Even after this, whether an arms race decreases the risk of war, increases the risk, is still debatable. One thing is for certain: President Truman's aim of intimidating the USSR into compliance with Eastern Europe backfired, and Stalin reacted with anger rather than fear. As a result, the arms race greatly increased the already developing tensions between the two nations, which served to militarize both forces, bringing them even closer to actual warfare. The arms race also created a balance of terror between them because both American citizens and Russian citizens feared nuclear war could happen at any time. Not only did the arms race increase tensions, but it also led to the end of the Cold War because both the United States and Russia were spending enormous amounts of money on their nuclear programs, which was one of the many factors that led to the Soviet agreeing to end the Cold War.